Hey guys, what's up? Disney Nuts here. Today we're going to be talking about dark rides. Okay, but today we're actually going to be talking about the Navi River Journey, which is a pretty cool ride to try your dark ride shots because first of all, the boat is going pretty slow, so you got some chance there to adjust accordingly. So without further ado, let's talk about the settings. When we talk about the settings on dark rides, the first thing that we need to look at is always the lens, and we need what they call a fast lens, and in this case a prime lens, which is what we'll be using. So here we're going to be using our 50 millimeter lens, which is my nifty 50 as they call it, which is great. And this one actually has the ability to go as f1.8, which means you can allow a lot of light in pretty quick, and it allows to somewhat get some really good shots even with a really high ISO setting. So let's take this lens and let's head over there and let's talk a little bit more about the settings on the camera. So we're heading over to Pandora, the area of Pandora now. And we're going to set up our camera, get ready for the shot. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we're here at Animal Kingdom. Let's go ahead and talk about the camera settings. Okay, so for starters, we got our nifty 50 on here, which you guys know can shoot at 1.8, which is what we're going to be using for today, because that way we get the widest exposure and the most light in there, and hopefully the best photo. Next thing we're going to be talking about is the settings in the camera itself. So I'm going to be shooting actually in manual mode, but I'm going to leaving a couple of things here in automatic, and one is the ISO. And like I mentioned on the video earlier, I'm just really focused on that the shutter speed is locked to a certain speed, and obviously the f-stop. So I want to make sure that's 1.8, and the shutter speed is at least 50 or 80 or 100. So that way I don't get anything shaking and stuff like that. And then, like I said, the ISO, I'm going to go ahead and set it as automatic, because I really not important what it ends up coming out as long as it doesn't shake and look blurry, I'm happy with it. Okay, on the settings itself, just like when we're shooting rides and stuff like that, we want to make sure that the metering mode, which is right here, is set to spot. And what that does is that it's actually going to try to set the camera's ISO settings, in this case what we set as automatic, to the really center of the image. Okay, and the reason for that is just like when we shoot dark rides, is we want a camera to focus on the middle of the scene, not everything around it, because obviously the scenes are going to be looking dark. So we want to make sure it's the spot. Okay, and just like that with the spot, we want to make sure also that our focus is actually set to spot as well. Okay, so we're going to set that to spot, so that way when I'm shooting the ride, I'm going to see a little dot through the viewfinder, and I want to make sure that that dot is what's pointing right on top of the object that I'm shooting. Okay, so on the focus we got the spot, and on the meter mode we got the spot as well. All the other stuff we can leave as default. For example, we can leave the white balance as automatic, that's no problem. And then this right here, the H, is high speed, so I can take multiple shots like this. There you go. Okay, so that's we're going to leave that as automatic. Then, like I said, we got the nifty 50 on here, and that's since it's a locked, which in this case a prime lens, which means it's stuck at 50. We got to make sure that we start shooting when we're pretty far away, because there's no way that we can zoom in and zoom out. So that's the only disadvantage of the nifty 50. And that's it. Okay, so let's head inside to the ride. Let's see what we get. So when we go to Navi River Journey, we got a fast pass for 6:15. Let's head on in. Okay, so we just got off of the ride. I think I got some good shots here. I was able to lock it in with the 1.8 and the spot metering, so let's go find the spot and see what we got. Okay guys, so let's get into the editing now. So here is one of the photos, one of the many photos that I took from the ride. As you can see, I adjusted to 1/60th of a second because basically 150 I thought was a little too slow, and some of the hand movements were starting to look a little bit blurry, so I just bumped it up to 160. And f1.8, as I mentioned in the video, I left the ISO as automatic. As you can see here, it went up to 3200, which is fine. We still got a really good photo here. And here's the final one. Okay, so let's work on this to see how we get that final result. Okay, as usual, we're going to start from the top down, starting by our temperature. And this one's a little tricky, to be honest with you, since there's just so much blue here. There's a lot of options. We can actually do something like this, which it looks nice. You know, the reds are popping up, and it's a little bit more warmer. Or we can go the other way, but that looked a little too extreme. So we're just going to go here, something like, you know me, even it out. So let's put 15,000 here. And the tint we can, let's see. So I think with tint we can leave it. Something like that I think would be fine. Okay. And the exposure, let's bring this up a little bit. Just a tad. Contrast we won't touch. Highlights, I'm going to bring this down because that way you can see the details on her face. We don't want to bring it down too much. There we go. Zoom in there just by pressing the mouse. One more time. Let's bring up the shadows. We won't want to bring it up too much because look, then we start getting all the noise here around the corners. So we just want to, just a tad. White's just going to, just a tad up because that way it makes the photo pop. Then my favorite, the magic one, the black one. Check this out. Once we bring this down, the photo starts coming to life, which is what I love of the black here. And then we can come back here and see if we didn't touch on this highlight, and a little bit here. Okay, this doesn't look bad at all. Okay, there we go. This looks good. We still got a little noise here, but we're going to later put a vignette on this, so this will eventually disappear, and we'll make the eye focus into the center here. Clarity, we're not going to do anything with the clarity this time. Maybe a touch of vibrance. There's enough color already happening here already. We're not going to touch any of this stuff. Again, if you guys want to adjust these settings because of your liking, feel free. You can add more blue, take blue out. Okay. So leave that at 0 actually. Just by double tapping here, it goes back to 0. And then here's the sharpening. I like to bring it up. You guys know me already a little bit. And the masking, just a tad, so you can see that it won't do the whole the scene, just parts of it. So we'll do that. And then a little bit of noise reduction. Usually I put half of what I put on the sharpening here. Okay. And keep on going. Of course, the lens profile correction, which is basically it sets up it reads the lens from the file information and adjusts the edges accordingly. I'll go ahead and turn that off so you can see what it does. See the edges. Okay. Now one thing I am going to do that I haven't done before for you guys is actually going to come down here to the camera calibration. And this was a tip actually given to me from Lisa.Disney, so thanks Lisa for this. And it's actually touching a little bit here the camera calibration bit on the blue, and we're actually going to touch the blue primary hue. We're going to bring a little bit to the left. And what that's going to do, it's going to give it a little bit more lighter blue, more true to what the person, what this, I guess, thing looks like. So let's go bring it down here a little bit. Again, the blue primary camera calibration mixed with the white balance, it's really up to you. So if you want something like this, that's fine. If you want something like this, that's fine also. Again, this is all your preference. As in other photos, I'm looking at the green stuff to sort of like a base, so when it somewhat looks a little bit green, I know it's good, or at least truer to the original photo. There we go, see? The green looks green, so I'm going to leave it around there. Let's even it out at 15,000. Okay. And then, like I mentioned before, we're going to put a vignette here, so it focuses the eye to the center and not to the edges, and we're going to go with a dark one, which means we're going to go to the left. Obviously this is extreme. Let's just do a tad, and there we go. There's our photo. Very simple, straightforward. We didn't have to touch any of the brushes or anything like that. I think this is pretty much straightforward. If you want, you can add a brush to this and just a touch of exposure. You can make the brush size a little bit bigger here. Obviously overdone, so let's just down a little bit. See, that's terrible, so let's delete it. I'm going to click here and hit the delete button. I'm going to make sure my flow is not 100%. Let's try it again. There you go, she's got like a nice little glow to her. There you go. And let's not put this up too much. There you go, there's our photo. And that's it. There's the edit of the Navi River Journey. Again, these are the settings that I use. 1/60th, which I locked it down at that speed using manual. I used manual mode and spot mode as I've mentioned previously. And there is the edit, guys. And hope you guys have a nice day. And any questions, feel free to ask. Have a nice day, guys. Take care.